Hey readers, how are you doing today? It's a nice sunshiny day where I am right as I'm doing this, and so I'm enjoying that. But we are going to get started with Reading Writing 1, and it's week 29. So let's get started with our writing like we usually do. So pull out your Foursquare that you have in your packet. They've already done a lot of it for you. So you just have to think of some details, okay? So our topic today is called I Love Hot Fudge Sundaes. Have you all had a hot fudge sundae? Well, I tell you what, they're pretty delicious. Hot fudge sundae usually has ice cream. Usually it's vanilla ice cream. And then it has hot fudge. It's just what it says it is. It has hot fudge all over it. Yum, yum. And usually it has a cherry on the top. It's very good. All right. So your paragraph, it's not going to be a paragraph yet, but your Foursquare starts with I love hot fudge sundaes. And then what it also gave you is the subtopics, okay? The ice cream is cool. The fudge is very chocolatey. And then down here, I like a cherry on top. Now, so that just tells all three parts of the sundae right there, okay? So, but remember, we haven't done this too much, but we've done it a little bit now. We are adding a detail. We are making it a little bit more interesting, all right? So let's go ahead and work on that. The first one is the ice cream is so cool. Now I need to tell you something. Remember when I've said there are certain words that I don't really like you to use in your writing because they just don't give good descriptions. And cool is one of them. Cool and awesome and great and all that. They don't really tell you much about it. So I've always said don't use the word cool. But this one is a little different. It's using the word cool, but it is telling you something about it, okay? So, because this kind of cool means the temperature. So we're talking about the ice cream being cool and rather than being warm. So this is a good descriptive word in this sentence, all right? So now let's think about the ice cream that you're eating. Just imagine it. Ice cream, cold. Nice cold, this says cool, but I usually think of ice cream as being cold. So think of nice cold ice cream. What else can you say about that nice cold ice cream? What's a good detail that would go with that? The ice cream is so cool, it slides right down my throat. Or it cools me off on a hot day, or something like that, okay? So give me a good detail that has to do with the ice cream is so cool. All right, I'll give you a second to do that. And then we're going to go to the next one. The fudge is very chocolatey. And again, this is it's just talking about the fudge here and what it's like. So give me a detail. Just think for a minute about chocolatey fudge. What are some things that come to mind when you think of chocolatey fudge? You can write a nice descriptive detail there in that box. Now some people like a cherry on top. Not everybody does, but let's just pretend that you do, all right? Some people just eat the cherry right first. All right, so think about a hot fudge sundae. There's some wonderful cold ice cream. There's some nice hot, delicious, rich chocolate running all over it. And now there's a cherry right on top. And the cherry is usually pretty sweet. All right, so think about a sentence that would go really well with I like a cherry on top. It could be describing the cherry. Or it could be describing, or you could describe what you do with the cherry. Or you could describe how it looks on the sundae. Anything like that. Anything that has to do with I like a cherry on top. And then your last sentence is already given. It's the summary sentence. Hot fudge sundaes make me feel happy. All right, that's a nice summarizing sentence. So when you get all three details written in here, it's just one or two sentences, well, usually just one at this point, so you don't need to worry about even two, just one sentence in each one of these under the details, then you are done with this for today. But save it, because next week we're going to work on writing it into a good paragraph. All right? So keep a hold of it. Now, go ahead and go to your poem. Looks like this. It's called Cockpit in the Clouds. Tell me what a cockpit is. Well, I'll tell you what a cockpit is. It is the place in an airplane where the pilot sits. That's called the cockpit. So when it's talking about the cockpit in the clouds, we're talking about an airplane way, way, way up high. Okay, sometimes we're just talking about being in the clouds. It's not really in the clouds. It just means it's high enough to be in the clouds, all right? Because usually when you're in an airplane and you're in the clouds, you can't see a whole lot. You can just see clouds. But look at this picture. Looks like this person in this airplane is seeing a whole lot more than just clouds. Okay, I'm going to read this to you, and you can look at the picture. And I don't know how many of you have ever been in an airplane, but if you have, you will know that when you look down, everything looks very, very tiny. It's just tiny, tiny, tiny. You can't even see some things. If you're up high enough, you might be able to see roads, but it would be really hard to see cars on the roads because they're so tiny, and you sure can't see people. Okay, but you can see buildings and trees and things like that. Okay, I'm going to 2,000 feet beneath our wheels, the city sprawls across the land, like heaps of children's blocks outflung in tantrums by a giant hand. To east, a silver spire soars and seeks to pierce our lower wing. Above its grasp, we drift along, a tiny, droning, shining thing. The new crowds pack the narrow streets. The L trains move so slow, so slow. Amidst their traffic chaos, life, the city's busy millions go. Up here, aloof, we watch them crawl. In crystal air, we seem to poise. Behind our motors' throaty roar, down there, we're just another noise. So it's really, really noisy down there, and these airplanes flying by is just another noise to those people. But the people that are in the airplane, that's a whole different thing, isn't it? They're looking down and they're seeing all of these people and all of this stuff going on. And when it's talking about like heaps of children's blocks outflung, what does that mean? That's very descriptive. But have you ever seen blocks that someone just threw? They're kind of scattered all over the place. Maybe you were the one that threw them. But so this person in this airplane looked down and he kind of pictured this big city. It looked like some child had just thrown his blocks. And then it talks about a tall spire. What's that? You know, on churches, how they have the big steeples up. A lot of them do, especially the older ones. Well, that's what he's talking about. Apparently there's a church somewhere down there with a big steeple on it, and he's kind of imagining that steeple trying to poke into his wings, but it's not able to. It doesn't go high enough. All right? So this is a kind of a fun poem because it makes you imagine things in a different way. Cockpit in the Clouds. Okay, now we're going to do something with our composition book. In fact, this is your very, very last reading page for your composition book. And you know what? You're just going to be gluing 2 pages and you're not going to even write anything, but we'll talk a little bit about it. This is what it will look like. It's called fluency. Now, can you tell me what fluency means? All it means is smoothness. When you are reading, It is good to read smoothly so that you can understand what you're reading and so that other people can understand what you're reading, especially when you're reading out loud. And all this is it's different tips about how to read so that you have so that people can understand you very well. All right, so let's look. We'll just look at this page right here, and then you can glue it all in a minute. Okay. All right, so let's look at the top one. The top one says, read like you're speaking. So if you have a book like this one, I just pulled a book out of my shelf. Amelia Bedelia Goes Camping. You all have read an Amelia Bedelia book. This is another one, and it's about her going camping. So when you're talking about reading a book like you talk, that means you just read it as if someone's just talking. Hurry up, Amelia Bedelia, call Mr. Rogers. I'm coming, said Amelia Bedelia. Did we get everything? Asked Mrs. Rogers. I would say so, said Amelia Bedelia. See, I'm just reading it like I was talking. You can just kind of hear it, hear people, Mr. and Mrs. Rogers saying these things and Amelia Bedelia saying these things. All right? Now, it says read with expression. Now, if I was reading this way. Hurry up, Amelia Bedelia, called Mr. Rogers. I'm coming, said Amelia Bedelia. Did we get everything? Asked Mrs. Rogers. You'd want to not stop reading pretty quick, wouldn't you? That sounds pretty bad. So you need to read with expression. If the person in the book is excited, then you act excited. If the person is sad, then you act sad. If the person is just talking along, then cheerful, then that's the way you talk, okay? All right. So another thing that says here on this third one, it says read with a natural pace. What does that mean? Read with a natural pace. That means don't read too fast and don't read too slow. I'm going to read the next page here. Good, said Mr. Rogers. It's time to hit the road. Hit the road, Amelia Bedelia. All right, she picked up a stick and Amelia Bedelia hit the road. That's called reading too fast. That is not reading at a natural pace. You can read too slow, and that's really boring. Good, said Mr. Rogers. Take a long time to read the book if you read it that slow, huh? Okay. Read in a natural space. Read smoothly with regard to punctuation. That means commas and periods, and that's what this is. Read smoothly. All right, so if I am going to read smoothly, then I'll stop at periods, and I'll pause at commas, and so you just pay attention to the punctuations and when someone's saying something, you say it like they're saying it. Okay, I've never been camping. You will have fun, said Mrs. Rogers. Now, if I said that without punctuation, I would say, I've never been camping. You will have fun, said Mrs. Rogers. Does that make sense? It's hard to figure it out, isn't it? You really need to pay attention to punctuation. Read with accuracy. Well, that's kind of obvious. Accuracy means read the words correctly. Read the words correctly. All right, so instead of, if you see the word A-N-D, then you say and, instead not R. Okay? So that's important. You need to make sure that you know what each word means, which word is, so that you can you read it correctly. Now, the very last one is comprehend what you're reading. What does that mean? What does comprehend what you read mean? All it means is that you understand what you're reading. If you read a sentence and you have no idea what you just said, well, it's not going to make sense to you, is it? And you're not going to remember it, and it's not fun to read that way. So, if you don't understand a sentence, then what you do is you go back and you read it again. I don't know what that means. And then you read maybe the sentence before it again and see if you can kind of make sense of it. If not, you can always go ask. Go ask your mom or dad or someone who's near you saying, what does this mean? I don't understand this. It doesn't do any good to read a book if you're not comprehending it, if you're not understanding it. And that is why in all these books that we've read all year long, we have had your study guides, because that is my teacher way of knowing that you comprehend the book, that you understand it, that you have that you know what it is that you read. So it's kind of important. That's one of the really important parts of reading, that you understand what you're reading. Okay, so really that's all we're going to work on today. You're going to work on that page, put it in your book, actually 2 pages, put it on your composition page, and we'll cut to the right size, and we're going to eventually get these books to you, and you can put them all in your book, look in your table of contents to see which pages go where, and you'll have a really nice book that tells you all the things that you learned this year. Okay, that is really all that we're going to do today. You're starting a new book. It's a wonderful book. It's called Little House in the Big Woods. Some of you probably already know about this book. It's a whole series of books, and it's by a lady named Laura Ingalls Wilder, and it's about Laura Ingalls Wilder. So this lady, when she grew up, she decided that she wanted to write some books to some children and tell them what her life was like growing up. And so she wrote it from the point of view of Laura. All right, so this is the very first book in the series, and they live up in a tiny little cabin, log cabin. You can kind of see the picture of it right here, in the state of Wisconsin. And in your packet you'll see a map like this. Okay, and Wisconsin is this state right here. Okay, this is like Michigan. It's up on the north. It gets very cold in the winter. And Pepin was the nearest town that they lived. They lived near Pepin, but they didn't live in Pepin. They didn't live in town. They lived out in the woods, all by themselves in a tiny little cabin, completely surrounded by the woods. And they had to take care of themselves. They had to get their own food, and they had to make their own clothes, and they just had to do all kinds of things that now all we have to do is go to the nearest store and buy it, but they didn't have anything like that then. And so this tells how they did it, and it's a lot of fun to read about. It's about Ma and Pa, and Pa plays the fiddle. He does that a lot. And then we have Mary, and then we have her older sister this is Laura, and her older sister's named Mary, and her younger sister is named Carrie. And it just talks about their day-to-day life, and it's a lot of fun. So I will be anxious to see what you think of it, and I hope you enjoy it. And we will talk about it next week, and I will see you. Have a great week. Bye-bye.